Hello everybody, welcome back. So, noticed or didn't notice, Bob wasn't able to get that video together for me, so that's okay, we can endure. I actually took this motor up where I have the cabinet where all the cords are still in and plugged it in, and it runs so smooth and so quiet. And I got a closer look at these wires, and these are the braided ones, and they're in decent shape. So I am playing with not tearing it down as fully as I might otherwise. I do want to get this bracket off, and it's got some massive springs on it. Well, massive, you know, in sewing machine terms. That I want to take this bracket off so I can get that painted. So let's see if I can do this without injuring myself here. Okay, so there's that pin. And looking at the machine with the label over here on the right side, the pin goes on this side. So there's a little ring over here. Nothing there, so I'm assuming that I need to tap this shaft out that way. So let me go and get a little tap and a little hammer and do that. I don't even know if I can do this so you can see it and still hold what I need to hold. But this is what I'm doing. You can see it coming out down there. You know what? I need to go over and put this into my little wood vise so it'll hold it securely. Pick up my tap I just dropped on the floor and tap that out. Before this flies apart, I want to show how these springs are set. So looking at this side, I should probably have pulled that off first. And this has already started to tip up, but the ends of the center parts of these springs are wrapped underneath through the center. There's like a little hole, I'm guessing, right here, and underneath the bracket. On the outside, they're coming all the way up and aiming off this way. Okay, so this one is already flipped. That's why I decided, ooh, I need to turn the camera on. But they were both flipping out this way from the bottom. Okay, things snap on your fingers when you pull them off. So, all right, so this part of the bracket is on there. I'm thinking it's probably welded on because I don't see any screws. Let's see what's underneath here. I see a round thing. It might even be like riveted or something. I'm not sure. It's not going to come off. So there's that. So this little piece here, I'm going to strip and paint. This is what those two springs look like. So this little short part was in the center and the long part was on the outside edges. Okay. Oh, I need to tell you, I pulled the machine out of the stripper this morning and I have it sitting in my large bucket of evapo-rust over there because it looked like it wanted to flash rust, and we don't want that, especially because it's going to be a little bit before I'm ready to get the paint on it. So it's sitting in there, and I looked it up because they're very heavy machines, but they look like aluminum. Turns out it is a cast iron aluminum alloy is what those machines are made out of, so that's why they're so heavy. So this is the little rubber piece. The outside edges are still feeling rubberish. It's kind of slick and hard here in the middle. I might see if I can do something to loosen that up a bit, but I don't want to damage it, so I'm just going to set that over here for right now. Okay, let me get a screwdriver and see if I can loosen this piece off. It's going to still be connected by those wires, but just to move it out of the way. bigger bit. Hang on a sec. That's good. My thought right now is if I'm not going to take everything apart and pull the motor out of the housing entirely, to try to just carefully hand prep this thing so I can paint it without stripping it. That's my thoughts right now. So, see how that goes. I mean, at the worst it stays brown, but you can see I can just sanding it flattens out that texture, which is good, which is what I want. Both of those little screws. Can I just move this over out of the way? It's kind of oily under there. Kind of, sort of, but not really. Does not want to. Well, that limits things. The other thing is these brush caps. I tried getting my screwdriver in there to turn them and untwist them, and they did not want to budge, and they are such a soft material. I was concerned about really cramming into them, especially since the motor is running so well right now. So this is my thought. From the outside, I have some denatured alcohol here on this Q-tip for cleaning. I can see that it's pretty clean in there. So I'm not really I'm not concerned about it working at this point. What I'm concerned about is taking it apart so much that I make it not usable, if you understand. So I'm just gonna try to sand it down either with my Dremel or a piece of sanding paper. What is this? This is 220. I just happen to have here. And will it take off the texture? Is my question. It does. It does remove that texture. And if the texture is off and I can clean it up really well, then maybe I can go ahead and paint. Mask off all of this stuff, you know, carefully load up in here where all of this is so that paint won't get in there, and paint it. I think that's what I'm going to have to do, just be a little more creative on this one and mask carefully. I have decided I need to take this piece off just because it's difficult to mask around it, and I think it'll get a better result. So I wanted to show taking this off. You know, these screws come off here. The shortest wire, obviously, goes to the outside screw, and then the one that's slightly longer is going to the center screw. And remember, there is a light on this machine, and the light overlaps this one. The light goes on top of that one, and then does the outside also. So this can come off, just stay clean and everything, and masking up around these wires is going to be easier. Because I'm leaving these little rubber nubs there, I'm going to actually paint latex masking around that so it's not bulky. And I can put tape over here, to fill in the sides. I have not decided what I'm doing with that, so give me a moment to get that part done, and then I'll show you what I've come up with. Just looking at this, it's a funny little motor because there's not like the screws that go all the way through to hold it together. I'm not seeing exterior screws, you know, mounting things together. So it's like I want to pull it apart, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm not too sure how that would happen. So I guess it's a good thing that this motor works so well, and I'm just gonna, you know, mask around it, but just thought I would mention that. It's interesting. Okay, I ended up just masking around the, oops, let's pull that off. I ended up masking around the brush caps. And what I did on the inside here is I cut strips of plastic bag. Just kind of weaved it underneath there on both sides to protect it, because that way it's easy to pull it out, you know, with my little tweezers, and it's not going to break apart and everything. Looks like I need to tuck it in a little bit more right there. So this is going to be ready to be painted. So I'm just going to go ahead and set it in my painting area. I do still need to get this little bracket stripped. And like I said, the machine itself and her components are already stripped. They're sitting in a VapoRest tank overnight, just to be sure. You can never be too sure. So yeah, that's what's going to happen next time you see. We're going to be putting primer on. And because of the aluminum component and all of this and, you know, mystery stuff going on here, I'm going to use self-etching primer on everything. I think it's just going to stick pretty well. So that's my thought right now. Hey everybody, it's a little bit later in the day. I want to show you a couple things. First of all, this is the machine. She is stripped, as you can see. Very heavy, but these machines in their casting, they do have feet. And I am thinking that she should be able to function just standing on those 4 feet. So I have something planned. I need to wait for something to come in the mail that I've ordered that has to do with that. But I want to show you her hand wheel. If this was painted brown in here, okay, and it is no longer brown. And the internet said that this was a cast iron aluminum alloy, which I believe. This must have a whole lot more aluminum or something in it because it's very heavy. But look at that. It looks like a big hubcap, which goes along with my theme. Spoiler alert. She's going to be a hippie van. I'm going to be basing her on a VW Bug, the classic one with the white on the top and the red here. And then we're throwing, you know, peace, love, and sewing all over the place. And I think that's going to be really cool. Flipping her around here. I think she goes with this. I just love the happiness that goes along with that. So I hope some of you do too, but yeah, that just looks like an old hubcap to me. So I love that. I'm glad that that turned out so well. All of her other parts are currently dried off and in my warm paint booth drying, and I'm going to be moving her in there. Tomorrow I'm going to paint her, but I wanted to show you there's not a ton to mask on her just because most of the moving parts were up in this whole part that we pulled off. So of course I'm going to cover up this cog up here, you know, I'll put plastic in here and at the very end and everything. But most of the moving parts on the bottom are gone. So I just need to make sure that all of the threaded holes have plugs in them. You know, all of this is covered and I can see I still need to dry off a little more in there. I'll get my heat gun out when I'm done with the camera here. But yeah, she's doing well. And this is black Japanning down here that didn't come off easily with the paint stripper. So I could probably get her to come off, but honestly, it's not going to hurt anything. And I'm going to primer over all of this down here anyway. So, but yeah, look at that. Just with this is 1000 grit sanding sponge. It's going to come off, so I'll probably just finish that up. But yeah, she's doing great. So I'm going to finish cleaning her up, put her in the paint booth to dry. And the reason I'm putting her in there is because it's warmer in there, and I need her to be the same temperature as the paint when I paint her in the morning. Lately, you can't tell right now, it's spring, but we have been getting down into like the 20s at night still. So that's my plan. So I will see you whenever I get to painting. Okay, I wanted to show you, I have her in here warming up. She is masked off. The little colorful plugs going in her holes and everything like that. So here is the machine. Her face plate, little extra plate, motor. The motor is a guinea pig at this point. You know, I'm going to clean her one more time before I put the primer on tomorrow. This one, this is the bobbin winder. And she is stripped, and that is the bare, hang on, let me move this, cast metal here, okay? But I think it looks pretty cool. So what I did is I want it to look like this. So I came in after she was clean and very dry and just very lightly threw clear coat on her. My diamond coat, aerosol clear coat. Just enough to protect that cast iron part right here, but everything else is steel. Okay, so this is going to be what this looks like. It's probably dry enough that I can set it aside somewhere else, but I'm going to put it back up here for now. That is the motor bracket, and the other little plate. So my game plan is self-etching primer, and then I worked out this color palette. I'll have to show you my color palette analyzer card thing in the house, but this should work. So my thought is I want the roof of the bus to be the white. Okay, so I'm going to hit white up here. The base is going to be French blue, and then there's like a magenta-ish, no, not magenta, more like, well, here, I'll show you the can. It is plum. Plum is going to be in the middle. And I know this sounds, you know, like a hot mess, but it should work with the hippie band stuff I have lined up. And then once those are dry, and I'm going to have them blending together, then I'm going to come back and tape off and do the outline for the red and white. And I do have a chrome pinstripe that's going to go into dividing them. So that, and on the plate, I'm going to start out with the plate just white, and then I'll come back and do the little outline here, red on the bottom, and the chrome pinstripe on that. That's my thought right now. We'll see how it works. You know, it's all an experiment. Okay, so I wanted to show you, I've got the primer coat going here. I did use a self-etching primer on everything just because we have so many different types of metal going on. And I wanted to show you, earlier I came in and I just put a coat of Regal Red on the motor, as is. And I might put one more coat, I'm not sure, I might leave it as is. She's going to get decals anyway, so not worrying about that. And this one that just had that clear coat that I showed you earlier. Sorry about the lines. Don't know what causes that. I know what causes it, but I don't know how to fix it sometimes, you know. There's a sensor on my camera, and when my hand is not over that sensor and there's an LED light on, it freaks out. So, you know, there you go. But I'm going to come back and put some color coat on her. Basically, what I'm going to do is white at the very top, okay? The French blue on the base and the plum in the column. But my order that I'm going to paint it is the plum first, and then the white, and then the blue. This part here is going to stay kind of primered right now because that's going to end up the red of my hippie bus. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Okay, so this is definitely a mid-step. That's a little door there in plum. This is not in any way close to the final product. What I'm going to be doing is, once this is very dry, then I'm going to come back and mask off a defined edge here. That's going to be the separation between the white, where the little windows are, and the chrome strip in the bottom, okay? So I need to leave it like this for a while. Don't know if the camera is picking up the color, okay, but it's like that. This is French blue. It's going to be a little bit more muted than that when it's dry. The plum, the blend in between, you know, and then the white. So it's going to be red here and then white defined up there. So the front grille here, it's going to have, you know, the little V coming down. I actually have a little peace emblem that's going to go there. And I'm debating on putting headlight decals or not. We will see. Again, the motor is red, and that little plate is red. The motor bracket is red because they are all, that's there, that little plate goes. I just touched it. Oh, I need to fix that. Because that's all going to go in this area up here. So that's it. We're going to give her a few days, and then we'll be back to do the red part. Good morning. So as you can see, I'm just kind of putting this little motor back together as she was. You can see a little bit of the texture on the motor. I don't think that that's going to matter too much, you know, for the eclectic nature that this machine is going to be. I don't think anyone's going to care. There were on the front and the back here little places where it seems like there's an oil wick inside of there, and I put some drops of oil in, and I think that, and they soaked in, so I'm assuming they're doing their job, you know. But I'm just going to get this kind of partly put back together. I still need to do a little something something to try to get this part of this little rubber softer so that it'll make a bigger impact. So I'm going to save that for later. That's what goes on there. Let me get one more screw on here just to tack this little part down. Again, these wires, they're good. They're in that braided casing stuff, so again, not the technical term. And I hope to be able to do more on the machine today. It's been 2 days since I painted her, and she's been sitting in my little hot box in there next to the heater. So I'm hoping that she's cured enough that I can mask without risking, you know, pulling paint off, because that's always terrible. Okay, I got the plug back on. I just came back upstairs. My shop's down there. I'm up here. This is the cabinet, and this is the plug. I wanted to just plug this in just to make sure everything's going to run. So let me do that and put the camera down for a sec. Okay, so she's got a little knee lever down here. So I'm going to see if I can hit that with my knee while I'm standing with one hand holding the camera. Very quiet, no sparking. Sounds great. So I'm going to consider this a success. She still needs her bracket put back on and everything. So let me go ahead and get her unplugged. All right, so one of the first things I'm going to do is try to protect this base here. She's a heavy girl. Have I mentioned that already 100 times? Yes, she is. A very heavy little girl. So let me put a bag here and another piece of bag coming around this way. I think that's going to work. And put a piece of tape over that. And you're just going to come along for the ride, because honestly, this is, it's art. It is art in motion, and we're figuring it out as we go along. I have an idea. I'm just trying to figure out how to make it work. So, in general, this up here is going to become a hippie bus. And if I can find a picture. Okay. See how there's windows up there, and there's the line underneath the windows, and then a strip of chrome, and then the color. I want my bus to be red, bright red. And this strip of chrome here, okay, I have bought some 1/8" pinstriping chrome tape that's going to go over there. And clear coat, that'll go on when I'm putting decals and stuff on. But for the very front, where, you know, there's a little VW bus emblem, I bought this necklace thing online, and I'm thinking I can take that top part off and everything and make this the little bus emblem right here. That's going to have to be epoxied on or something, but I need to make it so that it's not going to be in the way of the mechanism and stuff. So I don't know if it's going to work, because I need to make sure that it's not going to catch the threads coming down here. I need to gauge that. Honestly, once I'm beyond this point. At this point, I'm just going to be worrying about where to get that red color. Now, on my little bus here, if I can move my stand out a bit, right now I'm thinking that I want my red line to be kind of like level with this part, okay? So from this point, I'll have a strip of chrome above this. This little window here is going to be red, and I want red to be below it. And this whole thing down here is going to be red also, okay, and this. So let me get that on first, my masking going across there and at the same level in the back. Now, even though my paint is dry, I don't want this tape to be super tacky, so I'm trying to cover it up with lint stuff for my apron so it's not a super tack, just in case, you know. All right, I think that should be good. All right, so I'm going to be using the cast feet of this as the base, and I want this line to be level. So is this the best way to do this? Most likely not. But if I put it like that, that looks, oh dear, I'm dropping things all over. That looked pretty good. Okay, so I'm just going to tuck that up and do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so this is the back, and I just put an extra layer of tape on top. So I'm going to be spraying red, this whole part here and down. I'm going to try to blend the red into this plum. So I'm only going to have a little bit of the plum showing here. I might come back and airbrush a little more. I'm not too sure yet. It's a work in progress. Same here. Red is going to come around like this and all the way here. And this entire thing I'm going to spray red up there. At least for right now. That's my thought. Okay, so I just put that into the paint booth, and just before I did, I made little marks on the side here where that level is. So I'm going to start off by just doing my sides so that they are at the right level. Like here. Okay. You know what? I need to put some lint on this tape. Let's use a microfiber cloth. There's a lot of lint there, you know. Just to be safe. Okay, that's good. All right, so coming in the side like that, and the top up there. Okay, so just getting that started like that. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Okay, so imagine if you will, this is the front of the bus, and I can see that from this here, it's not a straight line, it's a swoopy kind of line, and it comes all the way down to the bumper. My bumper is going to be down here. Obviously, this machine is not going to be proportionally correct, but you know, we're doing what we can at this point. So I am going to use this tape. It is pinstripe flexible masking tape, if I can find the end of it. And I think that I'll be able to make that curve. But I need to find the center point here so I know what I'm aiming at. All right, I have a tiny little pencil mark X right there. This part down here, I'm doing the chrome bumper, okay? From this point up is where I want to aim at. So I need to make a curved line that's going to come from here down to this point and then back up over there. You know, I'm thinking I'm going to need to raise that up because this is making it such a long curve. It's going to look like a funky beak instead of that gentleness. So I'm thinking instead it's going to be more proportional to maybe do it up to only about midway, like that point up there. Okay, that's what I'm thinking. Okay, so this is at about that halfway point. And if, to pull this off of here, now, usually they would be, the medallion would be up here. I have more room. I might move it down. I mean, it's an homage. It's not an exact reproduction, so I might not even put it anywhere. Who knows? But I think that, see here, it's almost like a 45-degree angle. I think that having it, this is even deeper than that. If I was doing truly a 45, it would only be like to there. But I think that that's going to give me room to pop that in there. Again, it's an homage. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in this space here with masking tape. Everything else from this point down is going to get red. Okay, so my thoughts in general is, oh, that's cute. There's a couple issues. First of all, this line, it's not perfect, but I am going to have that chrome going over it, so that's good. When I was painting this, I did not have my masking tape pushed down hard enough, so I did not get a good edge, and I had slight red coming up in here, and the more I tried to clean it, the more streaky it got, so I'm walking away from it at this point. Once this red is really dry, then I can come back with the white paint and my airbrush and just, you know, deal with all of this and make it pretty. But in general, you can get the idea, and I think it's going to work. I really do. I'm working on the decal design in the house, and I took an image of a red VW bus, and I cropped out the windows, and I'm going to try to make a long decal of those windows to put up here on the top. That's my thought right now. We'll see if it works. Who knows? Who knows? Okay, so I wanted to give you a quick look at my cleaning process, and I'm just doing it with this big piece from underneath, because with these pieces, what I usually do, and Singer has a version of this too, is there are smaller pivot points in this area, okay? This is just my process, but what I do is I pull out one of those pivot points, and this one had some little screws right here also that'll keep them set in place. But I leave one of the pivot points in its original position here, okay? So with that out, then I'm going to go ahead and clean my metal. So a few different processes. I've got my Dremel with a wire wheel for the tight little places. For the larger places, I have actually, I should replace this one soon because it's very small, but I do have my fiber wheel on my big polisher here. So if you can see what it looks like now, I'll just hit this spot in here. So if you can see, that polishes, well, it cleans it really well. And then if I want to come over and polish it again, do this. Okay, and that's going to make just this. This was yellow and nasty. Before it even gets to this point over here, I don't know if I could turn you. Before I even do that stuff, though, I run them through my ultrasonic. I don't put anything in there. It's just a basket. I mean, it's just the empty. I don't even use the basket. What I do, though, is for each component, I put the smaller pieces in these little jelly jars. The ultrasonic waves will go through glass, okay? And then, I'll grab a little plate here, and then I can just dump them out, okay? So that gets all of the grime off, but they still need to be polished, because as soon as these dry out, they'll be very cloudy and stuff. I use a 50-50 mix of Purple Power and water just because that's what I have a lot of. Yes, other cleansers probably work just as well. Use what you have. So in addition to this, for the screws and things, I use this. This is just a little mini lathe that I've taken all the junk off of. So basically I'm just using it for a mounted chuck. So I will try to zoom in when I edit this, but say I have my little pivot point that has gone through the ultrasonic, and I just had it in my red goo, which is my homemade Kroil, which is a 50-50 mix of automatic transmission fluid and acetone. So anyway, then I can put this, and I might have to go use my other chuck on my drill press, because let's do one of these smaller screws instead of the pivot points. That would be better to demonstrate on, okay? So here's the ugly little top dirty screw. And my hands are really oily, so this is going slower. Anyway, I can lock it in there into my chuck. I don't key it in, I just turn it hand tight. Turn it on, get a piece of sanding sponge. I think this is 1000 grit, but it's very soft, and I can mold that around it. And if there's burrs or something on the end, I can put a file on there to smooth it out and everything. But that does a really good job of cleaning up the screws, if you can see. All right. And then I can come back and clean the bottom too. So anyway, in general, that's my process. Lots of parts to clean. This is one of the more tedious but satisfying parts of sewing machine restoration. It's just cleaning and polishing all the parts. So I'm not going to make you watch this because I've got, honestly, probably about 4 hours of parts cleaning that I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to turn off the camera And then next time I turn it on, hopefully I will have the top of that machine airbrushed so it's very clean and white on the top, and we can get started with the decals. I'm doing this, and I think I forgot to mention why I only left one pivot point up here in. And what it is, and I just started putting this one back in, if I can leave this one where it is, I know for a fact that it's in the correct position. And sometimes I pull it out and then put it back in, but make a note of exactly where it was. This one, I'm able to get in there enough that I was able to clean up that point inside there. But then I can come back and put this in until it is tight enough. Oh, and I put oil in there and everything. Tight enough that it's going to hold it and not bind. And I'll know that this is in the right position because there's a little bit of play there. And if I get that wrong, to adjust it once I have this in the machine is such a big pain, it's just not even worth it. So that's why I left that one in. I wanted to show you, I'm working on the balance wheel nut stuff. And after I ran this through my ultrasonic cleaner, I could get this little piece off. So you need to make sure you clean up in there, you know. But this is going to set on kind of like, it's reminiscent of a 201, you know, where it has a little piece that goes like that, but there's no spring or anything inside. It just is what it is. So just wanted to let you know that piece does come off. Okay, I found another interesting thing I wanted to point out right now while I was cleaning this part here, okay? See, that has to do with up where the bobbin case and everything is, okay? Inside this part, you can see, okay, it's like a regular pivot point would go in there. This side, there's stuff in there. Do you see that bar going across? That's a pin that's pounded through right here, okay? Now, I was cleaning the pivot points, and this one has a groove in it. So, what I'm thinking is that this pivot point has to mesh up with this point right here so that that groove is going to line up with it, which means that this is going to be the one that I'm going to set first and then put this in after. That's what I'm thinking right now, because this is a standard one, you know, no groove, groove. So very groovy pivot point. And I'm just going to carry on. If I find anything else interesting, I will let you know. Okay, so it is a couple days later, and I'm putting my pinstripe on, and then I just came up to double check my layout of my decals, and I think it's going to work. So I'm going to go into town and get them printed in full color. But I am working on this stuff, you know, just got it off of Amazon, and this is the little front so far. Okay, so you can see it's on there, and I've decided that I am going to wait and put this on very last thing so I can make sure that it's going to work. But that's going to be put on with clear epoxy, so I can wait till later. And this side, I have the one stripe going down there, breaking up that edge. And I'm going to do that over here too. It's just a little paper backing. And I will be clear coating over this, if you're wondering. So I think that makes it very cool. And hopefully this is going to match up here. So before I push it down, let me double check. And yes, it does. So that's great. I'm actually going to bring this down just a tiny smidge hair like that. And yeah, I like that. Okay. So pushing this down better. It is a sticker and not a decal. So the clear coat over it will, you know, help that. I don't know what this is. It's like a piece of the decal. Okay, and then coming around the edge, looking for my little X-Acto knife here. Just gonna cut that off there. And you can see this one came in. I don't know if it's going to show or not, but I'm going to go ahead and bring that in also. If I can do this without getting in the way of the camera. Okay. All right. So there's that. I'm going to run into town, get my decals printed, and I'll be back shortly. Okay, I wanted to show you, I'm working on her decals, and she's going to be cute. I got waterslide decals printed on the white backing paper instead of clear this time, because if I wanted to put something on the red, it needed to pop. And it's a whole different texture. It's a lot lighter, and every time it would wrinkle, the color would come off. If you can see, there's a couple little places there where when it wrinkled when I was putting it on, the color came off. So it's not perfect, but you know what? It's retro. So it's going to be really cute. I think it's going to give the VW Bus vibe, you know, once that is on there and everything. So I'm just going to keep cutting out my little decals. I've got lots of little guys here that I printed that I need to get done. And then I'll turn the camera back on and let you see what she looks like when she's all done. Okay, so I went in the house and I was thinking about it, and I did not like the look down here. So as you can see, I've come back in and she's going to be all red on the bottom. And I'm going to do a chrome silver kind of thing in the middle there, and I think it's going to work well. But I've got one coat of royal red down here, and I will be putting a second coat on and then leaving her to dry. I think that's the best choice. It looked great in my mind, the whole multicolor idea when I was first planning it out. But sometimes, you know, you just have to see it in person and then you realize, no, that's a bad idea. So she's going to be red all over, and I think that that's going to be good for her. Okay, so welcome to the next day. I'm going to move this over so it's more in range here. This is what I have now, and I'm a lot more satisfied with it. I sent pictures to my buddies. They didn't have anything negative to say about the previous one, but you know what? It just didn't hit me right. And sometimes you just need to redo if it doesn't hit you right. So basically, I blew up that smaller design that I had in full color, made it huge, did my silver foil on it, which I showed in a previous video how I did that. Took some of the other designs that I had up on top in full color, and I wanted to leave the full color ones up here because that's kind of the hippie bus vibe I was going for, but then put the chromish silver ones on the bottom. Okay, so here we are. I did a light clear coat with just my diamond aerosol can on this machine and the front part this morning. And I did put her bumper on, looking cute. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to come back with a paintbrush and some paint and do touch-up paint around these decals that look kind of like stickers. You know, I don't like that. But I wanted to touch it up, and I was thinking of filling in some color. And you can't, or at least I could not, get enamel paint to stick to decal. It just wouldn't. So putting a light clear coat over this is going to give it that middle ground so that I can. So once you clear coat, it's done. So this is what I have here. I did pull off the little decal I had back here. Looking at it this morning, I didn't like it, so that is off. But like I said, my plan is to come back with a paintbrush and some paint right now and do some touch-up work on her. It's going to be a slow process, but it is what it is. So I'm just going to turn the camera off now. Hopefully in another day she'll be dry enough to touch up paint. And then once that is done, then I will use my, more permanent clear coat on her. But for right now, no. This is what we have. Okie doke, so her clear coat is on. I think she's really cute. She's going to have a long time to dry because I'm going out of town for a bit, taking care of some things. And so by the time I get back, she should be rock hard and ready to put together. I will be gluing that medallion on here after she is completely dry. I'll just use clear epoxy and pop it on there. There's another little plate. But yeah, I think that she's really cute. She has the theme that I wanted. I love her. I'll probably put her up for sale though. But if she doesn't sell, it won't break my heart. But if you're interested or know a hippie who wants a hippie van Kenmore, well, let me know. She is a straight stitch machine. Like I said, she's like a white rotary that's been swallowed by this large shell. But she's going to be fabulous. So I will be getting her motor, which is red. And since the motor is red and all that, that should blend in right here, I'm hoping, and everything. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope this has been entertaining, at least. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.